the desensitizing piece. But now you have real racism with Nick Fuentes, right? Real anti-Semitism, true like homophobia, and
Oh yeah.
like deep hatred. And I want to get to that. I want to get to all of that. But I've seen, and I cannot remember this kid's name. He's so cute. He's a young black gay conservative. And
Amir Odom.
Thank you. And really intelligent, sweet kid. I've seen a few of his videos and thought a lot of him. There was one where he kind of gave Fuentes a pass. And I've seen a few black people giving him a pass. And I'm thinking, like, what are you guys doing? And then you've got the gay guy Milo on Tucker talking about how we're all.
Well, he's an ex-gay now.
Oh, sorry,
allegedly.
the ex-gay. Okay, sorry, the ex-gay. And I'm trying to understand what is happening on the right, because it seems as though what happened on the left, right, where 80% didn't agree with some of these crazy things you and I are talking about, but they went along with it because they would rather, my producer said this to me last night. He's like, they'd rather go to their grave screaming about something they don't believe in as long as there's an army behind them. And I wonder, like with Amir, is it because Fuentes is cool right now and you don't want to be, in his bullseye?
This is not to say anything bad about Amir, because he is my friend. But I think there's two things going on. One is there is this, and some of it's fake, but some of it is real. Like actually, people, anything positive about Nick Fuentes or any interview gets like insane views and engagement, and there's something intoxicating about that. So content creators do have an incentive to pander to his audience sometimes by making excuses for things they never would really excuse. But then to be fair to Amir and to people like him, when you ask them, and I did on my podcast, so people can check out, I had him on because we're like, I am criticizing Nick a lot. He's like, disagrees with some things, but sees some value. I'm like, let's talk about it. And people were very interested in listening to it. But his argument is, well, can I write him off as a racist when people have been calling me racist for years, just for stating facts or just for being honest about BLM being a scam or other things? And it's like, I understand why people feel that way. They cried wolf so many times, but sometimes there's a freaking wolf, right? Like sometimes the actual wolf is here and it's about to eat you, and we need to actually call it out and get help. But it is a problem that anybody who had concerns about immigration was called racist for years. Anybody who questioned things about Israel at all was called anti-Semitic. Now we have so much open anti-Semitism. I'm so bothered by it. But it's like the fact that everything was closed off and these labels were watered down, because when you throw them around like candy on Halloween, they lose their meaning. Yes. It's like now people aren't fazed. They hear, oh yeah, Nick Fuentes is a racist. Well, they told me that about Ben Shapiro and about everyone who I listen to who's at all right wing. So whatever, I guess I'll still listen to him. And there's also, so I think that's a huge piece of how we ended up in a place where people with genuine hatred and animus are mainstreamed somewhat, or at least have massive audiences on the right. The other aspect is I do think there's a degree, especially among younger people, of like almost nihilism. They feel so hopeless. And then the internet is so unserious. I mean, I saw on my Instagram this morning a reel of the We Are Charlie Kirk song, but it's We Are Jeffrey Epstein, and he's dancing AI with George Floyd. It's like this generation is so unserious, and it's so bombarded with like tragedies and horrific things, and then memes and jokes about everything, that then you just become desensitized to actual extremism and hatred. And then they can always hide behind that it's just a joke. But the problem is, for a lot of these people, it's not just a joke.
No, it isn't at all. And I've noticed, you talk about the men's gay soccer group. And here's part of my concern is that I've sat with conservatives who, over the past several years, and seen Dave Rubin do it and seen you do it, and I thought we had this kind of understanding. And it's the understanding that Charlie Kirk espoused many different times. I am religious. I believe that marriage is between a man and a woman, but this is not a theocracy here in America. And I celebrate your family. I think it's beautiful. And, there should be no law to take away your rights to protect your family. And now I'm starting to hear people say, we gave you that on the right. We gave you that. We gave you that. We let you guys have that. And look what you did. You started transing kids and men started punching women and boxing at the Olympics. And I'm thinking you're conflating two totally different issues. But on one hand, then the gays should have called out the crazy. And your soccer group didn't do it. So
the mainstream LGBT organizations all went all in on it for fundraising and to find a new cause to push. And I agree with you. And I'm okay with a little bit of victim blaming when it comes to why is gay marriage support falling? Perhaps the fact that the gay activist community and the most visible gay people in America, many of them went all in on such extreme radicalism, is a piece of that. And if that's victim blaming, I would just call it fact shaming. Yeah. But it doesn't mean you throw the baby out with the bathwater. The same way when people say DEI went insane, right? And I agree, where it became anti-white discrimination in many places. You ended up with this toxic race sensitivity training and all this stuff. Doesn't mean we get rid of the Civil Rights Act and put Rosa in the back of the bus either, right? We don't do that. We have to, a pendulum swing in a society. Things go too far, the solution is to go back to the middle, not to swing back to the opposite extreme, but many people seem to want to do that.
Have you seen this clip of Tucker Carlson saying that the reason we invaded Venezuela is because of Globo Homo? Have you seen this?
Yes, I have. I covered this on my show a while ago.
I have to show it to the audience in the event they haven't seen it, and then we can discuss. Guys, can we play SOT 1 Globo Homo?
We can safely discount democracy as a reason for affecting regime change in Venezuela. We're not going to go kill Nicolas Maduro because we don't like the way he's treating his people. It's possible we're mad that he doesn't allow gay marriage. That is a distinct possibility, but no one will say that out loud. Not defending the regime, just saying. One of the most conservative countries in North or South or Central America. Only El Salvador really comes close, which is much smaller, of course. And by the way, the U.S.-backed opposition leader who would take Maduro's place if he were taken out is, of course, pretty eager to get gay marriage in Venezuela. So to those of you who thought this whole project was Globo Homo, not crazy, actually.
Okay.
He's cracked the case. I mean, it's just it is laughable, but it's actually millions of people take this seriously. The idea, and whatever you think about it, I'm so glad Maduro is gone, but we can, of course, debate the wisdom of different interventions. The idea that has anything to do with gay people is absurd. The Trump administration is not huddled in a room thinking, how can we bring gay marriage to Venezuela? They're thinking about oil. They're thinking about people here who want to see an end to the tyranny. They're thinking about the China-Russia strategy.
Right,
and
Iran, gold, Monroe Doctrine. But here's what's exceptionally nefarious about that is there are many conservatives, from Ben Shapiro to Matt Walsh, that have always opposed gay marriage. They've not softened their position on it, and I've had an amicable debate with Matt Walsh over it. We agreed to disagree. Whenever you get into those conversations, you're obviously fighting for the minds and the hearts of the people watching. But it was amicable, and he showed up for it, and I appreciate it and I respect that. Not one of them, not one conservative commentator who is against gay marriage, of which there are many, dared to make such a suggestion. And Tucker is a lot of things, but dumb isn't one. So you have to imagine that he's thinking, how can I breed more animus towards gay people? They really don't want more forever wars. I mean, MAGA is like, no way, no more. Where's this going? What's going to happen? Is this going to be boots on the ground forever like Iraq and Afghanistan? Oh, wait, you know who I can blame for this? Today, it's not the Jews, it's the gays. Why?
It's dishonest, though.
Of course it is, but that's not the point. Why is he doing it? Does he truly hate gays that much?
No, I actually would respect him more if he did. I think it's cynical and sinister, and it is a ploy for attention. Tucker is addicted. Tucker has all the money in the world. He doesn't
I
care
know.
about the money.
I know.
He has the team, the staff, a setup that I'm sure I would dream about, right?
Yeah.
But what he can't stand is being irrelevant. And the only way that people talk about his content now is when he says something outrageous. And so he says this kind of stuff. And he is a smart guy. So he either is being incredibly lazy or just totally lying. The funniest thing, Jillian, Nicolas Maduro, who's an evil man, actually supported the legalization of gay marriage. He just hasn't been able to implement it because it would require changes beyond even his power. Literally, if you look it up, he has made comments that are pro-gay marriage in the past. So the whole thing is ridiculous to begin with, but it's based on a falsehood. I just Googled this to double check this before I said it. Nicolas Maduro has publicly stated support for gay marriage.
Son of a gun.
You can't make this up. But Tucker he did this as well. He recently went on a rant apropos of absolutely nothing about Uganda's anti-gay law from 2023, I believe. And he was saying that everybody claimed they were making it gay to be illegal, but they were really only actually criminalizing gay rape. And he went on this whole rant. It's like, I just read the law, and it's literally not true. It punishes gay people with criminalization and then repeat offenders with the death penalty. He didn't do any due diligence, or he did and he just lied. Either way, it's a complete betrayal of your audience's trust, and millions of people still listen to him. But I think he's made the cynical calculation that he just wants to be noticed and be relevant, and people only talk about him when he deviates from the norm.
But, I find that so strange because for years people watched Tucker. Like when he left Fox and I thought he was going to go join X with Elon Musk, I was like, that's cool. And then he was on Rogan. And I'm like, that's cool. And I started watching, and there were some really good shows, and he's done some great exposés. And I would have normally tuned in for a solid, critical analysis of what the heck we can expect out of Venezuela. I would. And I would have spoken to somebody from the other side, and I have been. And, I spoke to Mike Baker, and I spoke to a constitutional attorney. But he would have been one of the people that I went to. And you know what else is bizarre? Is the 180. Like, that's another thing on radical Islam. And I'm not talking about, I'm not talking about the, 900,000 amazing Muslims on the planet. I'm talking about radical Islam, and it absolutely exists. And there's a slaughter going on in Nigeria right now that pretty intelligent, erudite people are trying to bring to the forefront. And he back in the day, I actually have a clip of this I want to show you. Back in the day, he's sitting there talking to peers about the slaughter of Christians by radical Islam in the Middle East and North Africa. And today he's like, I don't know anything about it. I don't know anything about it. It's like, you know everything about it. 9 years ago, you were the guy talking about it. Swear to God, take a look at this just so you could see the bizarre, 180.
I think, unfortunately, if it happens in the Middle East, this kind of atrocity, it just does not seem to attract the kind of media attention in America that it would if it happened, as we've seen in the attacks in Sweden the last few days, in London 2 weeks ago. I was there for that. Huge attention in the American media, in Paris, in Nice. These get huge attention. And yet what happened in Egypt was unbelievably significant. If you look at what ISIS really stands for, what they are carrying out now in the Middle East and in Egypt in particular is a kind of genocidal attack on Christians and Christianity. They want Christianity eradicated, and they want to convert all Muslims to their crusade. They want it to be a holy war, and they want Christians gone. And I don't think that narrative is getting the attention it should get in the American media, and I have to say in other media as well around the world.
Ted Cruz is upset about what's happening in Nigeria to Christians. I'm not against him being upset about that. You say it's much more complicated than he's presenting. Probably more tribal than religious. I don't know much about it.
What I find so strange about this is he doesn't turn around and say slaughtering Christians is good. Of course, nobody would ever say such a thing. But he goes, I don't know much about it. That Piers interview is 9 years ago, and there are a host of other clips where he's the guy telling everybody about it. That's not actually anti-Semitic, and it's not anti-gay. It is pro-radical Islam, this weird shift in position, and now I guess he's buying land in Qatar. But why do you think that so many of these people on the right are giving us this complete 180 in their position, Tucker just being the most obvious example?
I don't know. I'm struck by it because Tucker's done this as well, where he pretends not to know who people are. He does this on his show. He'll be like, Tommy Robinson. I barely even know who that is. But then you pull up the clip and he had him on his show like multiple times on Fox. And I'm like, did somebody hit Tucker over the head? And does he have amnesia? Or is this just a way of him like trying to belittle people and just assuming that people won't check the publicly available records? Hello, like the internet is forever. We know all these things. So you can rebrand if you want, but to just gaslight us and pretend like I never knew anything about the Christian persecution. Well, you did, because you dedicated
you were the guy. Yes.
It's not honest, but Jillian, the problem I have, and I don't want to blame like the population, but at some point, like we exist in a media market, and everyone out there, consumers, vote with their attention. They vote by what they click on and who they listen to. And you are sending a signal that I want more of this by rewarding this. And what frustrates me about the current moment is that whether it's Tucker or whether it's Candace Owens or other people, they will repeatedly make very large errors or lies that get debunked and exposed, and they don't apologize for them or own up to them. And yet the audiences doesn't tune out. They just tune in more to see what drama's coming next. And it's like we rely on people to actually vote with their wallets and their attention in a way that rewards integrity and punishes dishonesty. But now it doesn't do that. It seems like, if anything, the most toxic and most dishonest people are the ones making the biggest splash. Maybe it's algorithms, maybe it's social media, I don't know, but it's a really destructive trend.
You bring up algorithms. I actually want to show you this clip. Tucker happens to be in it. He appears to be on the right side of the issue, in my opinion. Take a look at this.
There's been a lot of research on what has been happening in the last few months. And the bottom line takeaway in the last few months is that there is a coordinated effort of individual, largely unverified accounts in social media. They typically emanate from India, Pakistan, Malaysia, Indonesia, Nigeria. And there is a coordinated amplification process that is happening around this content. And in this chart that you're seeing, it's just a comparison of Nick in the first 30 minutes to what people like Elon get in the first 30 minutes of him posting. Now, why that's so important is you start to see this huge disparity where even though you have the most viral person and account in the world, i.e. at Elon Musk on X, what you see is him completely crushing and dominating the virality in the beginning of his content creation versus anybody else's. And then there's a bunch of other charts. Nick, you can retweet a link to this. It starts to show a pattern where there's a coordinated effort to amplify. I think that's why we're having the Nick Fuentes moment.
So, on one hand, I kind of become dystopian like you're talking about, and I'm thinking like, who in the world is rewarding this? And I've tried so hard to stay above it, right? Part of me is just like, Joe Rogan doesn't talk about this stuff. Sean Ryan doesn't talk about this stuff. You could stay above this and just explore topics with people and give them information. But here's my concern, Brad. Here's the reason I feel compelled like we have to start saying something, is because you already have one party that didn't call out their crazy, and that party is so wildly unhealthy. I don't think we could get a decent candidate out of them if we begged, borrowed, and stole. I don't see how that's possible. And if the right goes down that same path where they refuse to call out their crazy, then we have two parties that are exceptionally unhealthy. And the reality is that when you've got the biggest names, like the Tuckers and the Fuenteses, and they've got millions of views, whether it's fake or not, it almost becomes real. Like the New York Times, as Chamath, I always mispronounce this gentleman's name, and I'm so sorry, as he points out, a lot of Fuentes' traffic appears to be bots, but the New York Times turns around and goes, look at all these racist Republicans. They hate blacks, they hate gays, they hate Jews. Look at the audience. And now it's a matter of fact. So I feel like if we don't start saying something, then the damage is going to be irreparable. I would love to say, like, this is just crazy. Don't give it any attention. Keep going. But when Jennifer Welch, is going on CNN and Mom Donnie is now the mayor of New York after rapping about giving his love to the Holy Land Five that funded Hamas, and Fuentes is on every show, like, I feel like we have to say something. Do you think it's alarmist, though, like, knowing that so much of Fuentes' traffic is fake? Should we forget it and just keep going?
I don't think you can. I think you have to forcefully call it out, or you become tied to it by admission. I mean, I'll give you a good example. One of the biggest disgraces of 2020, which I do view as like peak insanity for the Democrats, was the riots and looting that killed dozens of people after the death of George Floyd. And I thought what they did to George Floyd was terrible, but I thought, of course, you don't get to destroy and do billions of property damage and dozens of people are killed. Very, very few prominent Democrats came out and said, yeah, I support that. Please go burn down more buildings. What they did do, many of them, was say nothing at all, or issue one tepid, mealy-mouthed condemnation once and then never touch it again. So they refused to forcefully denounce the radical activist wing and make it clear that we don't stand for that. And they were successfully politically, and rightfully so, they deserved this, given the backlash for it. And I think that's what's happening with the Republicans right now. Most Republicans are not Nick Fuentes, but I find it telling that J.D. Vance seems so reluctant to condemn him. He has once or twice over the years, to be fair to J.D., but it's like, this dude literally mocks your brown wife, and recently said he would vote for Gavin Newsom over you because Gavin Newsom has a white family.
And is better looking.
To be a little more forceful, right? But I think they are afraid of alienating the ultra base. They know these people are very nasty when you make them mad, as I have personally experienced. And for whatever reason, they also are so bitter and disillusioned by years of like the media calling everyone racist or whatever, that they don't want to do anything that could be seen as playing into that narrative. But a broken clock is right twice a day. And when the New York Times calls Nick Fuentes racist, they're just observing reality. And I don't believe you should just like thumb your nose despite them and say, well, I still won't condemn him because I'm not playing the media's games. Actually, you could just condemn him forcefully and distance yourself. But I don't think they're going to do that. I don't understand. I think part of it is because these people are too online, and I'm a hypocrite for saying that. But for example, on X, I will get so many comments, and maybe if some of them are fake, maybe a lot of them are fake, but if I criticize Nick Fuentes, it will seem like I'm in the minority opinion.
I know.
But I'm not.
I know.
90% of the country would agree with what I'm saying, but on X, I'm the minority opinion. And all of a sudden, I'm getting dogpiled, and I feel like I'm the crazy one suddenly. Maybe some of these people, the J.D. Vances of the world, are in echo chambers or are too online, that they think these people are more popular than they are, and that they fear a reputational backlash to them if they condemn them that wouldn't actually happen. That could be part of it, but I still view that as fundamentally cowardice.
I agree with you, and I think it's going to hurt J.D. Vance in the general election. I really do. I really do. Like that young Republicans tweet chain where they're glorifying some of the most, it's going to get me banned on YouTube. I can't say, but they're literally glorifying some of the most hideous, disgusting offenses. It's like, it's beyond, it's beyond the pale. That's all we'll say. And he's like, oh, let's not clutch pearls. And I'm thinking, oh my gosh, what are you doing? Like, this is going to crush you in a general. What are you doing? Oh my gosh, come on.
See, I'm pretty confident we're going to have a Democratic president in 2028.
I am too. I totally agree with you. And it's interesting because the far right now is like, you're not, and now they're policing who's allowed to weigh in on a conservative movement. Now it's like, you're not a conservative.
Oh, they've tried to do that to you.
Oh, me, Dave, I'm guessing they've done it to you. It's like, you're not a conservative, you don't get to weigh in, and you're not one of us, and you're not this. And I'm thinking,
It's funny how woke that is. It's like, excuse me, only POC can comment on this, or a male doesn't get to have an opinion on this. Well, all of a sudden it's like, well, you're center right, you're not far right, so you don't get to tell us not to be Nazis. It's like, what? No, my opinion's either correct or false based on the truth, not based on where I stand on an identity hierarchy. Woke. It's so woke. It's crazy. It's like a 180.
You know, I like Steven Crowder. I don't agree with him on some very aggressive positions that he takes. Some I do. I think he's ultimately a good person, and his position on certain things, as I mentioned, I fully don't agree with. But like women voting, that is a separate conversation. But, you know, he initially jumped down my throat because I was outraged at the suggestion by Fuentes that all women want to be raped. And they want their shit beat out of them. And he's like, you're not
conservative. You'd be bothered by that.
It's like, you're not a conservative. You don't get to tell us what to think about this. I'm like, but I am hold on. What are we doing? What are you doing? And there was a moment with Crowder where I'm like, what are you defending? What in the name of God?
Also,
why are you defending
don't they realize
this?
They need to convince people like you to win an election. You need a majority. It's called a coalition.
I don't think that they want us anymore. And you are seeing that. And what's concerning, and I said to him, I was like, listen, I get that, you know, you guys want to shore up your base and you want to go back to your, you know, your core message of whatever the hell that was back in the 90s. Because it seems like we're getting a return to like 1990s conservatism. But I don't see the podcast bros. I don't see the Theo Vaughns and the Andrew Scholes and the Joe Rogans. Like, I don't see them getting behind this. Like, those guys are classical liberals at heart. Joe Rogan voted for Bernie. There's no way. He's not getting behind that. There's no shot. And he's the most powerful man in the media.